This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Drop off.
And you can follow him on Twitter at The Real Reason, host of The Finish Line with Richmond Webb. And of course, you saw Neil Driscoll earlier on the show, and he also does the Fins Too Deep podcast with him. Rio, how you doing, baby? How you hanging?
I'm good, bro. How you doing, Big O?
Good, bro. You feeling better, or how's the family? How's everybody?
Well, my oldest daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, and she's gonna be 4 in 2 days, and my wife, they just tested negative, so I'm gonna assume that I'm gonna test negative. So we're getting there.
Okay, good. All right, good. That's what we need, bro. Hopefully, this as it continues to flow, maybe it just turns into a cold finally, and it's not something that scares the crap out of some of us and
for sure
puts us at risk. You know what I'm saying? All right. So before I get to the draft, have you calmed down on your Deebo Samuel stuff now after watching what's gone on? Also adding Eric today at wide receiver, because that's also a Deebo like layer to the team.
Yeah, I mean with the jet sweeps and stuff. See, I've reported what I've heard, but I've always maintained consistently. I thought the likelihood of us trading for him this offseason was slim. I said, would I be shocked? No. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I said if it was going to be a realistic option of Deebo coming to Miami, it would be next year in free agency, walking through the door. That would be, if it's going to happen, that's how it's going to happen.
But that won't happen either, because they'll tag him. They're not going to allow him to walk out the door without.
I think they'll be right back. I think they'll try and tag him. He'll hold out, and then they'll have to trade him.
Yeah, but if he holds out, then it's Le'Veon Bell all over again. So remember, they can afford to play the hard ball. He cannot. They own him. So all they have to do is tag him and say, oh, you want to stay out? You want to hold out? No problem. We'll continue with business. You sit out, lose out in a year. Let's see how you gain that money back. Let's see if you can do what Le'Veon Bell couldn't do. So he doesn't have any power, any leverage at this point in time. San Francisco wants compensation for the guy. And
I think they'll get it.
Right. And I don't think Miami will be the team to give it to him.
Yeah, I think especially with the AJ Brown deal, they have to understand they're not getting a Tyreek Hill haul, especially when he's going out and saying, I don't want to be used as a wide back anymore.
He hasn't said that yet.
He came out,
those are reports.
That was a report, right? So
he has said that none of that stuff. We don't know what's true and what's not true, dude.
No, hey,
we don't even know what the hell is going on between him and San Francisco, actually.
I see. This is what I heard a while back, that there was a disconnect between him and Shanahan, and now how everything's played out, clearly there is a disconnect between him and Kyle Shanahan. I found it interesting how the San Francisco media was trying to spin Shanahan into positions that we all knew Mike McDaniel was in terms of how like Mike McDaniel would bring in Deebo, in between meetings. Well, Deebo would sit through positional meetings and coordinator meetings just to get time with Mike McDaniel in between meetings. But they were reporting San Francisco, no, that was happening with Shanahan. And I'm like, I don't know, this whole like good guy thing was being kind of painted as Shanahan. And I mean, I'm not a San Francisco fan. I'm not totally plugged into them. So I was just sitting back and I was like, it was just kind of a weird little twist. I think there is a disconnect between Deebo and Shanahan, though.
Well, obviously, there's a disconnect between Deebo and the entire organization.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
There's some wrong going on there, but we still don't know what the hell it is. And in the end, like I've said before, he already got Deebo Samuel. He's just going to use 5-6 different guys to do it. And then here's part two. If he doesn't want to be Deebo Samuel, you don't know if he can be that good anymore.
Well, I agree with that.
And so it would be really stupid to sign him to a contract, give up compensation, and change positions, not knowing what the end result is. And then the flip side is, what becomes even dumber is to sign Deebo Samuel to a long-term contract and think he's going to survive playing that game. And to me, that's the part that I have a problem with. I wouldn't want Deebo Samuel on my team because he will not last playing that kind of football.
So, there's layers to this. I got to break.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
You know, basically, this is what I've been preaching. They're telling us their window is till 2026 with what they've got right now. Okay, when that $50.1 million cap hit kicks in with Tyreek, that's what your window is. I would only sign Deebo to a 3 or 4 year deal to begin with, and then
you don't even know
play
if
it
he
out.
last 3 or 4 years running into linebackers and linemen, dude.
Give me 2. If you give me 2, we're and then I'll play it by year, and I can trade you in year 3 or year 4. My whole thing with him is
after he's beat up and worn down, they're not going to want him, dude.
hey, you never know. Someone's going to pay something. So
you have to run that offense. Nobody runs that offense.
and but well, I think
that's another thing. What McDaniel does is
for good players like that,
unique.
you'd scheme them in. For good players like that, you'd scheme them in if they could continue. I mean, look at Cordell Patterson. He's still doing it. And look at the age he's at.
At a very limited basis. He is not a major part of somebody's offense.
Well, hey,
Deebo Samuel was a major part of their offense.
And because we have so many pieces.
Cordell is a complement to your offense, is what he is.
Well, I mean, really, last year they didn't have very much other than Cordell Patterson and Kyle Pitts. But, I still look at Deebo as, listen, because of all the talent we have, I give you 5 to 8 carries. I target you 5 to 7 times in a game. That's my high end and my low end. That's it. And, I'm not looking to like use them 20 times a game. And the whole thing I have is just the dynamic, if we go 20-man, 21-man personnel, let's just do a 20-man personnel, and we go out and we got Cedric on the boundary, we got Jalen on the other boundary, we got Bowden in the slot, and then we got Tyreek and we got Deebo in the backfield. Both guys who have proven they can make plays out of the backfield if you give them the ball. I mean, and then on top of motion Teron Armstead like they did with Trent Williams, what does the defense do?
Yeah, but don't you have Deebo Samuel by using all the other guys, whether it's Cedric, whether it's Chase, whether it's Waddle, whether it's Tyreek, whether it might be this Eric kid now that might end up being a part of it.
You're by committee.
You're still going to attack a team the same way, but you're going to do it with 5 or 6 different guys, and you won't wear one guy down.
Which is smart, because if Tyreek's going to be the jewel of that, he's not built. Like, if we think Deebo ain't built for it, Tyreek isn't built for the stuff out of the backfield, but he's still dynamic when you give him the ball out of the backfield, which we've all seen, right? I get what you're saying.
You drafted the kid out of the backfield right now.
Yeah.
You signed 2 guys out of the backfield in Mostert and Chase, so they'll do the out of the backfield stuff for Deebo.
Get to the edge quick.
Right, exactly. The bubbles and all that stuff, Waddle and Tyreek will take care of that kind of stuff. The crossing routes and all that, it could actually be a combination of the kid that they just drafted, Waddle and what's it called, Tyreek. And Eric, by the way, also can do those kind of things. He can also help out on the bubble screens too, because he's kind of a shifty guy for a 6'2" guy. That's why I'm saying that I think that's what McDaniel did. I don't think he wants to trade for Deebo Samuel. He said, let me create Deebo Samuel in multiple ways so I can keep them guessing. They don't know who's going to run in what play and what I'm going to do. But if you have one Deebo Samuel, they can key on that guy saying, all right, we got to spy on him. We got to keep on him the entire time. And even, by the way, Rio, here's the other thing we got to worry about. Even when he's not running, he's still going to be involved in contact at one point or another, because he's going to have to block and all that.
Yeah.
So there's a wear and tear to that position. I think you're just better spreading it out. And I believe that's exactly what the Dolphins want to do, is spread that thing out, because you already paid Eric, you already paid Tyreek. You're going to have
I'm not worried about the money, though. I'm not worried about the money, because he has only got a $4.9 million cap hit this year. You spread out whatever you sign him to. He has a Tyreek-like hit next year. You're not seeing real money till year 3 of him actually being on the team. And then you start restructuring him, and the cap's going to go up in 2 years. I wouldn't be worried. The money, I get what you're saying with the committee. That's a better argument to me than the money. The money I'm not really worried about.
No, but the money is, you don't commit that much money to one position. That's my point.
I don't think he's – well, I mean, we committed a ton to corner.
But it's only 2 corners, not 3 wide receivers.
What kind of money?
And maybe a 4th. Eric is not a big money receiver. He's decent.
No one's making money out of Tyreek in that.
No, but eventually you're going to pay Waddle, is what I'm saying.
And that's why I said I would only sign him to a 3 or 4 year deal. As soon as that option year is about to run off, Deebo off the books, so I can take care of Waddle.
I think you're dreaming.
Hey, what would the world be without dreamers?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
You know where I'm at, Big O? I'm at the point where I know, like I said, when that $50.1 million, I know what their window is, right? Everyone knows. You just look at the contract.
Yeah, it's usually a 3-year contract.
You know what I'm saying?
All these deals are usually 3 years.
You know what I'm saying, brother?
Yeah.
Throw your on the table and let everyone know we got the biggest set of them in the NFL, and let's go get a championship. I don't care how you do it. I don't care where you spend the money.
No, I get you.
A championship. I've been putting up with this, man. I remember sitting on my dad's lap when we lost to Jim Kelly in the AFC Championship, crying my face off. All right, I remember missed kicks against the Chargers. I'm ready for a championship, my friend.
I'm with you there, bro. All right, what do you think about Channing in the 3rd round?
Love it. The only linebacker I would have taken over him and the next pick after him was Leo Chanel.
I like him too.
I love Channing. I don't think you could have went wrong with either guy. I think Channing Tindall is a perfect fit at inside linebacker. I mean, the guy flashed. You know, you want me to go deeper? At the value we got him at, it's a better pick than number 1 Travon Walker.
Yeah. It's actually a far less gamble. Actually,
I agree with that too.
Because the Walker kid does not have the problem with this entire draft was the top of the draft. There was no superstars. So that's why nobody wanted to trade up to that top of that draft, because nobody was like, oh no, I'm giving the house for this guy. And Walker was Hutchinson. I like him too, but dude, I don't see JJ Watt or something there, or TJ Watt or whatever the hell you want to say. It's not like I see Boza when I watch Hutchinson. I see an energy guy, a good player, but I don't see greatness. That's a whole different. This draft was kind of odd at the top, dude.
The only edge I would have probably had ranked higher than Jalen Phillips, and he would have been just higher, would have been Tibbs. I'm a huge fan of Kayvon Thibodeau. That he would have been my top player in this draft. But it would have been slightly above. And I love Jalen Phillips. Last year when he was coming out, I was telling, when I was doing my scouting evaluations for everyone on Inside the NFL, I had him graded higher than Chase Young, and he had a better rookie season than Chase Young. That's how much Jalen Phillips, when you look at his production at the collegiate level and use it as an athletic profile, that's your third Bosa brother. Jalen Phillips is like from that Bosa mold. I think if that snap count goes up this year, Jalen Phillips can be, man, I think that guy's going to be a top 5 edge rusher in 2 years. I really believe that. But yeah, I agree with you. There wasn't a lot of, look at how devalued was the quarterback position. You know what I mean? I've never.
Yeah, but they actually were disciplined this year, because normally they reach for him anyway, and they didn't reach for him this year, which I don't know, first time in forever they don't reach for quarterbacks. It's crazy.
I know, but Malik on those traits in the second, ended in a great spot. He ended up in a great spot, though. So
this is why I keep picking on people like Tannehill and Lamar Jackson. Okay, draft the athlete. Now you got to teach the athlete to play the quarterback position. Agreed. He's not a quarterback that has athleticism like Russell and what's the kid in Arizona?
Kyler
Murray. Those are quarterbacks that have athleticism. And that's the problem with Malik. Malik is still an athlete that you now have to teach him to instinctively play the position. Mm-hmm. And I say that because that's what quarterbacks do from the get-go. They have the instincts of a quarterback. I don't know if you can develop instincts to be a quarterback. That's my problem, Rio, more often than not. When I see these athletes that are trying to play the position, they're going to wow you with runs. They're going to wow you with a couple of throws because they're amazing athletes, but they're not amazing passers. And that's the difference.
Hey, Buffalo proved if you got the right guys in place, and you're right, it took a couple years, and we saw it, and it took pieces going around, and Josh Allen took those leaps.
He's the one freak out of all of the guys that he's actually shown me that an inaccurate quarterback can actually fix his accuracy.
But Malik,
he still has his erratic moments, by the way.
I agree. Especially when you get outside the hashes towards the sidelines. But I think, Malik's very coachable. You know what I mean? Again, Malik, when you're going with a guy like Traits, who's a raw passer, a lot of Dolphin fans, they've realized that after what happened with Flores and Tua, situation matters that you get drafted into.
Big
And a
time.
guy like Malik, I agree with what you're saying. Situation is going to matter big time. That's why I said Tennessee's sit behind Tannehill, watch the guy prepare, et cetera, and maybe
Lamar Jackson would have been out of the league already if a traditional coach gets him and says, "All right, we're going to make him a pocket passer."
Yeah, agreed.
And he would have been out of football in 2 years because he would have thrown 80 interceptions. Oh, this guy can't do it.
Yep.
Baltimore, to their credit, said, "Okay, this is not a pocket passer. We're going to have to do it this way."
Yeah.
Not that I think you're going to win a title that way anyway, but to their credit, at least they have the conviction to say, well, we understand who he is. This is how we're going to play him. And that's the only way you can play that kid. So I give them credit because at least they're smart enough to understand what they have. Because as you know, most of us have seen it. You usually will get the guy and then try to make him what he's not.
Agreed.
And
And I think Harbaugh doesn't get enough credit for basically converting that offense suited to Flacco to a guy with Lamar Jackson's skill set. Like that is a drastic change to make to your, overall, how you scheme as an offense and basically your own approach as an offense. That's a big change. So I've always said I don't think Harbaugh gets enough credit for what he was able to do with that. I really don't. But with Malik Willis, I think he's very high character, very coachable. I mean, the physical and the traits are there. It's just about, again, environment coming together, good coaching, and if he gets there, he gets there.
I'm with you there. All right. Is this the year that a lot of people will shut up about Tua? Because you know where I stand. It's been a shit show around him for 2 years.
Yep.
They had a coach that didn't know what the hell to do on offense, couldn't build a staff. I think they now have the staff. I think they now have the talent around him. And I think, and by the way, another year of being healthy now from that hip and another year of being removed from that surgery. I think we're going to see the healthiest Tua we've seen. And I think we're going to see a guy that's going to ball out in this offense. What do you think?
I think we're going to get top 12 play at the quarterback position throughout the entire NFL from Tua Tagovailoa this year. One thing me and Nick talked about all offseason, Nick Hicks' trainer, Perform. I kept saying to him, you got to get that torque back. Get that torque back he had at Alabama because, we got to get that arc. He has an arc on his ball that he didn't have at Alabama. I said, we get that torque back. I mean, and you see now the videos are putting out the torque's coming back. Private videos, Nick's showing me the torque's coming back. I think Tua is going to definitely take that next step. He's going to take that leap. We all want him to. You look at the talent around him right now. A guy like Terron Armstead, a reason why I wanted last year in the draft, in free agency, the center out of Green Bay, who went to the Chargers.
Lindsay, right?
Yeah, Corey Lindsey. Yeah. I wanted him because, guys like that can teach you, hey, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, they prepared this way. You know what I mean? They can teach them little tricks of the trade, which are huge things. I mean, I know Terron's talked about getting him with Drew Brees. I think this year you're going to see, they're working on the footwork, cleaning up the footwork, more consistent mechanics in the pocket. I think you're going to see him.
By the way, I think they'll get Treader. I think they're going to get Treader because I think they're just working him because Greer works the deals, dude. He doesn't hand out money.
Does he worry you?
Well, yeah, of course
knees?
He worries you because of the knees, but you're not going to have him for long term. It's probably going to be a 1 or 2 years stopgap type of thing, but it brings competition. It might make Dieter better overall because he gets to learn from that guy. And what you just mentioned, Tua gets a veteran center that has been there and done it. And I think that's really important also for Tua. So I still think there's a chance they get Treader. I just think they're trying to work his number down because he's probably asking for too much money.
I've heard he's asking for like pretty decent money for where his knees are at because from what I've heard, I don't know if you heard the same, he wasn't practicing last year. He was just suited up on game time and anyways. That's but hey, I agree with you. Stopgap.
Pouncey did a lot of that too towards the end of his career because they
shoot him up at halftime, put the needles in the knees, drain the fluids, shoot him up. Let's go, get back out there.
Yeah. So.
But with Tua, I think you look at the space and the one-on-one matchups. we're not going to see Waddle continuously catching and triangle bracketed or box coverages, with the defense just collapsing on him. He's going to get in space. He's going to get the opportunities we saw Jamar Chase get last year when T. Higgins was his number 2 and Tyler Boyd was the best number 3 in football because they got bumped down by his acquisition. I think we're going to see now Waddle flourish like Jamar Chase did, and then you got Cedric, Bowden. He's been clocked at 4.37 at Perform this offseason. He's going to be coming in, and that's a guy who, let's be honest, a guy who is a really raw receiver, but he's the only one in 2020 that wasn't dropping footballs.
I think they stashed him. I think they did last year. I think he could have played at one point last year. They just said, yeah, let's stash this kid for next year, that kind of stuff. So, especially with the offensive staff that they had, it wasn't like they were going to maximize.
I know I can say this publicly. I know I can say this publicly. Nick Hicks told me privately, and then we talked about it in a Twitter space a couple weeks ago. From his understanding, Flores blackballed Bowden because of that soft tissue injury. He had been training for about 2 or 3 weeks with Perform leading up to it. And the issue Flores had with Nick Hicks and the whole Tua thing.
Right.
They blamed the soft tissue injury on Perform, and they gave Bowden basically hell, saying if you would have got into our facility right away and not trained with Perform, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that guy was cock blocking everything, bro.
He's crazy, man. Like, do you remember that article where Bowden gave an insight to what happened with the Raiders? Do you remember that article that came out last year?
Yeah.
He got hell for that from Flores. For talking too much of for talking too much about the inside of what's going on in the NFL. Flores was just people, whether you want to believe the allegations or not, that's one thing. But I'm telling people, the guy was still a grade A ASSHOLE. Like,
I was saying it all last year throughout the year. I was saying that, I was saying it during the winning streak that he had to get fired.
Oh man, I remember Big O. I remember.
It's great. It's crazy, man. It just,
oh man, I'm telling you, last offseason, I was telling everyone, if he doesn't live up to expectations, he's going to get fired. And I also said, watch how quickly the fan base turns on him if he doesn't live up to expectations this year. I had people in my comment section while I was live saying he's the best coach we've had since Don Shula. I was like, whoa, we're all forgetting Tony Sperano here. And I said, and hey, we all don't like Adam Gase, but at least he got us to the playoffs. Talk to me when Brian gets us to the playoffs. And then the season that happens. And during that losing streak, I was right there with you. I just kept hammering Brian Flores. And it's honestly, what soured me on Brian Flores was the stuff I started to hear privately about him last offseason and how he was moving behind the scenes. I started looking at Brian Flores sideways last offseason, and everything I heard was right. He was not a good person in that building. I don't know.
No, not at all. Not at all, dude.
And that's putting it politely. And you know what? Tua, who seems like one of the nicest people in the world, he basically, the most major indictment when they said, well, what did you say about Brian Flores? Well, I'm happy he drafted me here. That's all he had to say about the guy. That tells you all you need to know about Brian Flores.
Yeah, exactly. Because Tua's going to always take the high road. He's not going to.
No, he's a class act. We got one of the classiest quarterbacks in the NFL. That's why, there's not a player I've ever rooted for to succeed, because I don't think there's many people who deserve success as much as Tua deserves success. That's just, I'm happy he's my quarterback, and I hope and I know he's going to take that leap this year so he can be locked in as that franchise guy.
Yeah, I just get kind of pissed off because I think he's been treated incredibly unfair, and he hasn't been really given what he needs in order for any quarterback to succeed. Like I tell everybody, Marino didn't have a running game, didn't have a right side of the line, didn't have a defense, and that's why there's no title, bro. Yep. And he's as good as I've ever seen in my life. And even he needed it in order to win the whole thing. Every quarterback needs help. And that kid has had no help. And I think that this year he will change all of that. The narrative will completely change with him moving forward.
Well, you're older than me,
Thanks.
Jim Kelly didn't beat us. Their running game, Thurman Thomas, and their defense beat us. Okay,
the crap out of us.
All right, that's who beat us in the playoffs. Like,
we had no defense.
I tell people, you know what my biggest.
We didn't have a running game, so we can keep Kelly on the goddamn bench.
I got two big issues with this fan base. Okay, one is Stop calling all the things we identified that Tua needs as excuses. That's context as to why he hasn't succeeded yet. When we talk about the O-line, the lack of weapons, the bad coaching,
Common
that's
sense,
context. Yeah, that's common sense and context. That's not excuses. And number two, I've been telling these people for over a year, stop being highlight reel watchers. What wins at the quarterback position? Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. When you have look at that has been Tom Brady's bread and butter. He's elite efficiency and he has an elite football IQ. You combine those two things, he makes the throws when they present themselves, but he'll kill you on the short to intermediate level.
Always.
And when the chance opens up, that's when he'll make the play. And he only got to make it 4 or 5 times a game. There's 4 or 5 throws he's got to make in a game that'll help determine the outcome in his favor. But look at Joe Burrow. The Bengals did not get 500-yard, 5-touchdown Joe Burrow in the playoffs. What did they get? Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. That's what wins Super Bowls.
Always, always. That's what Montana was, bro. He
yes,
wasn't,
sir.
He wasn't like,
and that's what Tua can be.
Yards downfield, bro. He was killing you with crossing patterns and fades and all kinds of stuff and short passes and Roger Craig. And that's the way it was, because that's the way the game has been played forever, bro. And nothing's really changed that much.
Exactly. And that's what Tua can be, That's what Tua can be. He can be.
That's what he is.
Exactly. He is. But I'm saying there's another level he's going to find to his efficiency, and people are going to see it.
Yeah, they're going to see it because in Alabama, they understood it. They have a great coaching staff, so they put him in that position. Finally, I think these guys are going to get it. Real, tell them about the podcast. Both, one with Neil and the one you do with Richmond Webb, so they can subscribe, my friend.
Yeah, so with we got Fin Too Deep with myself and Neil Driscoll. You can find that on Spotify, iTunes, every major podcast outlet. On top of that, obviously I do the Finish Line, which you can find on dolphinstalk.com with Richmond Webb and Mr. Ballgame. And of course, you can also find me on YouTube at Finside the NFL. Appreciate you. It was real fun. Good conversation, man.
Always, bro. Come on, man. It's all good, baby. We're in the family. So I appreciate you. Real, we'll catch up down the line. I'm sure I'll be on your channel down the line too.
Oh, we're gonna get you on soon. People are asking for it, so we're gonna have you on soon. All right, brother. You have a good one.
You got it. Fins up. Be good,
brother.
This is the